Imagine being 250 miles above Earth, floating in a space station, and realize that even the simplest thing in your day, eating, has become an almost impossible challenge. Have you ever wondered how astronauts actually eat in space? It's not just a matter of squeezing a sachet and that's it. It's much more complicated, and at the same time, incredibly ingenious. Because when you're in a gravity-free environment, food can become a threat. It can float, get lost in the air, clog ventilation filters, or even damage equipment. And worse, it can affect the human body in unexpected ways. But then, how did NASA and other agencies manage to turn this chaos into a functional menu for space? That's what we're going to find out now. When we think about astronauts eating in space, the first image that comes to mind is that bland canned food, right? But the truth is that the science behind space food is complex, fascinating, and full of challenges. Way beyond just packing any food and throwing it into the spacecraft. To start, let's talk about the environment where they live and eat. The International Space Station, or ISS. Inside, gravity is practically non-existent. This means you can't just open a package, cut a piece of fruit, and eat it like we do here on Earth. If that happened, crumbs and liquids would simply float around, potentially getting into delicate equipment, causing short circuits or even accidents. That's why every food item has to go through a strict process to be safe and functional in space. It's not just about picking what we like. You have to consider packaging, weight, nutritional value, shelf life, and how it will be consumed. Let's talk about the main types of food astronauts use. The most common type is dehydrated food. Basically, it's food with all the water removed. The idea is to reduce weight and prevent the growth of mold and bacteria. To prepare it, the astronaut adds water from a special reservoir directly into the package, seals it, waits a few minutes, and the meal is ready to eat. But the dehydration process is more sophisticated than it sounds. The food is prepared and cooked here on Earth, then goes through a process called lyophilization. This process freezes the food and removes the water through sublimation, meaning the ice goes straight from solid to gas without passing through liquid. This preserves most of the nutrients, flavor, and texture. For example, you can have mashed potatoes, vegetable soup, pasta with tomato sauce, all in this lyophilized form. The astronaut just adds hot water, and in a few minutes, the meal is ready. Also, the packaging is designed to prevent leaks and minimize particle dispersion. After all, no one wants to eat floating food inside the ISS. Another important group is thermostabilized foods. These foods are cooked and sterilized inside the package, allowing them to be stored for long periods without refrigeration. These include foods like stews, beans, rice, chicken, and even more elaborate dishes. The astronaut can eat directly from the package using special spoons to prevent the food from escaping. This method also helps maintain texture and flavor, which is crucial to keep astronauts' morale high. Yes, despite what people think, astronauts also eat fresh foods, but in limited amounts. Before the mission, they receive fresh supplies sent up in cargo capsules to the ISS. Fruits, vegetables, and even eggs are included in these shipments, but they need to be consumed quickly, as they don't have the same shelf life as dehydrated foods. Additionally, inside the ISS itself, there are experimental projects to grow plants, like lettuce and other greens. This is a super important research area for the future of long-duration space travel. A detail that few people know is that the packaging is a true engineering feat. It needs to be light, sturdy, and prevent food from escaping in microgravity. For example, spoons have magnetic tips to stick to the tray, preventing them from floating away. Packages have valves to insert water and ensure airtight sealing. And liquids? Water, juices, and coffee are consumed in pouches with special straws. No open cups or bottles. That would be a floating chaos. Eating in space isn't just about satisfying hunger. It's essential for astronauts' health and performance. In space, the lack of gravity causes muscle and bone loss, as well as changes in the immune system. That's why the diet needs to be rich in proteins, vitamins, and minerals. Space nutritionists work side by side with scientists to create balanced menus that help combat these effects and keep astronauts' bodies strong. They also monitor consumption and make adjustments for each crew member, considering age, weight, health, and mission duration. Another curious point is the sense of taste in space. Because of microgravity, astronauts experience slight nasal congestion, which impairs the sense of smell and consequently taste. That's why they often prefer saltier, spicier foods with stronger flavors. But that can be a problem. Consuming too much salt can harm health in the long term, so scientists have to balance flavor and nutrition carefully. Want a curiosity? During the first Apollo missions, astronauts ate food from tubes similar to toothpaste. Not very appetizing. Only after the dehydrated and thermostabilized food systems improved did meals become more palatable. Another interesting fact is that on the International Space Station, meal times are important social moments. Astronauts eat together, talk, relax. This helps mental health. And of course, there's always that traditional space food you see in movies and series, but in real life, it's much more varied and tasty. 1960s, first manned missions. Men crammed into tiny capsules, surrounded by buttons, levers, and constant noises, and eating tasteless pastes stored in metal tubes. Yes, tubes, like toothpaste that tastes like processed chicken. On the Mercury mission, astronauts squeezed these tubes directly into their mouths. There was no fork, no knife, no pleasure in eating. Other delicacies came in dry cubes, which broke like styrofoam. They were hard, tasteless, and difficult to digest, but they were safe. And that was the point. Safety above all. At that time, we didn't even know if the digestive system would work without gravity. Could the body swallow? Could the internal muscles do their job without the support of gravity? It was all an experiment. But little by little, mission after mission, it became clear. Yes, you can eat in space, and the body can digest normally, even floating at 28,000 km/h. With that, evolution began. NASA began testing new methods: freeze-dried foods, vacuum-resistant packaging, valves for rehydration with hot water, no tubes. Now, the astronaut would cut a corner of the packaging and eat it with a magnetic spoon, without anything floating. In the 70s, with the Apollo missions, the menu became more varied. Soups, scrambled eggs, dry steaks that turned into meat with water. Everything is packed with extreme care to withstand radiation, launch vibration, and the extreme temperatures of space. But the big turning point was with the Skylab station. The first space oven appeared there, heated food on board, and even a refrigerator to preserve certain items. It was a huge leap. But the real revolution came with the International Space Station. There, food stopped being just a question of survival. It has become part of well-being. Today, the menu is personalized. Each astronaut has a meal plan created by nutritionists, and there are hundreds of options: rice with curry, fish with vegetables, pasta bolognese, pancakes with syrup. Everything is designed to have good durability, nutritional value, and stability in microgravity. But make no mistake, eating well in space remains a challenge. Each meal needs to pass dozens of tests: microbiology, chemical stability, texture, shelf life. And even then, the flavor is not always pleasing. There is a little-known problem. In space, many astronauts partially lose their sense of smell. This happens because body fluids accumulate in the head without gravity. It's like living with a stuffy nose all the time. And without smell, the taste disappears. Therefore, spicy foods and strong condiments are favorites. Hot sauce, wasabi, strong mustard, anything that can activate dormant taste buds. And even with all these limitations, meal times continue to be special. It's a break from the intense pace of the season, a moment of connection with the Earth, with culture, with memory. Eating in space is, at its core, a reminder that you are still human. Imagine that eating in space is already a challenge, but drinking liquids takes it to another level of complexity. In zero gravity, the simple act of drinking water or juice can look like a scene from a science fiction movie. Floating droplets, little liquid bubbles drifting in the air, which must be skillfully captured to avoid making a mess. In the early days of space exploration, astronauts faced huge difficulties staying hydrated. Regular straws simply didn't work because liquids don't fall down like on Earth. This forced NASA and other agencies to develop special packaging systems that allowed safe and practical consumption. Today, astronauts use plastic pouches with special straws that have a valve to prevent the liquid from escaping and floating around the cabin. These packages are essential to keep the environment clean and avoid risks to equipment. Moreover, they're designed to prevent liquid from entering the nose or ears, which could cause discomfort or even health issues. Hydration is crucial for health in space. Microgravity causes the body to lose fluids more quickly, and sweating and breathing also contribute to dehydration. Therefore, astronauts need to drink more water than on Earth, up to 3 liters a day on average. But it's not just water. Liquids also include juices, coffee, tea, and even isotonic drinks that help replenish essential electrolytes for the body's function in microgravity. Another challenge is water recycling aboard the International Space Station, ISS. NASA developed advanced systems that collect urine, sweat, and even breath vapor to recycle and turn into drinking water, ensuring a sustainable source during long missions. All of this shows how the science of eating and drinking in space is a complex engineering feat, vital for mission success and astronauts' health. Eating in space isn't just about packaging or taste. The human body also faces unique challenges digesting food in zero gravity. Without gravity, many internal processes we take for granted on Earth change dramatically. For example, the digestive system relies on gravity to help move food through the gastrointestinal tract. Without it, the movement of the food bolus, called peristalsis, has to work differently to push food through the stomach and intestines. Luckily, the human body adapts, but not always without side effects. Many astronauts report changes in appetite during missions. Some feel less hungry, while others experience nausea or stomach discomfort, symptoms known as space adaptation syndrome. Another common problem is constipation, which can happen due to altered bowel habits and changes in the space diet, usually rich in dehydrated and processed foods. To counter this, scientists work to adjust astronauts' menus, including fibers, probiotics, and foods that help regulate bowel function, maintaining digestive health throughout the mission. Moreover, the absence of gravity also affects how liquids move in the stomach, which can cause a feeling of fullness or even reflux. Since liquids don't go down like on Earth but float, requiring care during consumption. All this makes digestion in space a fascinating and challenging field that combines human physiology, food science, and space engineering to ensure astronauts' bodies keep functioning perfectly far from Earth. So, did you ever imagine that even the simple act of digesting food becomes a huge challenge in space? The science behind every bite and sip is astonishing. From adapting the body to microgravity, to creating foods that keep our health intact, thousands of kilometers away from Earth. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss any amazing content about space and life beyond Earth. See you next time.